when you talked about it with me way back in the day, and we weren't even talking about attachment, but it's a parable, more of a Buddhist parable that I think of often is life is a game of hide and seek.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the worst thing that could happen is no one comes and finds us.
So, in this series, we're examining the attachment themes strewn throughout the FX Hulu show, The Bear. We will be discussing in detail each episode as the story unfolds, so that you can watch or rewatch before you listen and then follow along with our discussion. We have seen all the episodes, but we won't discuss any content beyond the episodes we're discussing. So if you haven't seen the show, press pause now, go watch, and hop back on to the podcast.
Michael, it's so good to be back.
It's great to be back.
Even though I've seen you a few times recently.
Yeah, you actually hung out with me. That was nice. It was very kind of you.
It was very kind of you. It was delicious, actually, too.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
made stuff.
Yeah. Yum.
Street tacos. They're delicious.
Speaking of something,
Yes.
what have you made for us again?
Again,
Something delicious.
this time an Aperol Spritz. Quite refreshing. Had some when we just recently went to Italy. I used my words today, and we had these daily. But we're using it today because the title is pasta, and I was like, pasta, Italian. So today we're on episode 2 of season 2 of The Bear. And yes, entitled Pasta. We still don't really have much meaning behind these titles for season 2, do we?
Yeah, we don't have these sort of double entendre or metaphoric meta meanings.
Yet I'm sure the author has a very particular specific meaning.
That's very possible.
We just haven't cracked the code yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's possible that season 2 is rather just square on the nose. Yeah, with different directors, different writers. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all beyond me. Pay grade.
Yeah, it's way beyond our pay grade.
Yeah, I don't care to wade into my opinions about anything there.
But we did have one thing we kind of pulled from it is that we noticed pasta was mentioned in this episode as Sid is talking about how her business, what caused her business to fail.
Yeah.
One of the big mess ups that happened. She's demanded pasta to be made for an event, and the pasta went bad. And so she improvised. And apparently that was not acceptable.
Quite.
So, and you were saying, go and share your thoughts on what that could signify for the show itself of Sid's relationship with.
Yeah. Well, the one of the stories of Sid in this whole show is that the backstory is that she had her own restaurant, her own catering business, and it failed. And it put her in not just a failed business, but in wrecked credit and I'm sure a huge bruised ego. And coming to the beef to work with Carmi is a second chance for her.
Yeah.
And a second chance to not lose her dream of being a chef instead of working with the UPS as opposed to the CIA. She was working at the United Postal Service. And so she's getting this second chance to maybe get the kind of training that she needed or the kind of a longer run way to learn the skills of as being a Sioux, if you will. And anytime that concept of a second chance comes, it reminds me of attachment. Wherever I see second chances, I think immediately attachment.
Right.
Because attachment is drenched in second chances.
Right. It's all about the rupture and repair.
The mantra is rupture and repair. That all relationships, secure or otherwise, in infancy, toddlerhood, throughout the whole lifespan, you're going to have moments where caretakers are misattuned. You're going to have therapists that are misattuned. You're going to have lovers that are misattuned. You're going to be the misattuner.
Right.
for all the reasons. And that's life. And that's not really what is as harmful in relationships, including in infancy and caretaking of the infant. What's really, really harmful is when we have a difficult time in restoring the connection, restoring the
Having
attunement,
opportunity to repair.
or the opportunity to repair the broken connection. Yeah.
One way you and I used to, I say you and I, one way you talked about it with me way back in the day, and we weren't even talking about attachment, but it's a parable, more of a Buddhist parable that I think of often is life is a game of hide and seek.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the worst thing that could happen is no one comes and finds us. Am I getting that right?
Yeah. And I think that's Winnicott who really articulated that in analytic writings, that there's
Okay.
nothing worse than not being found.
Mm.
Yeah. And that in the game of peekaboo or hide and seek, it's such a delight to be hiding and make it difficult to be found. But there's even more exquisite delight in actually being found. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so sometimes we miss it.
Yeah, I think that can be just a great part of repair is that, or we have access to repair if we continue looking,
Yes.
continue searching,
Yeah.
have curiosity,
Yes.
and have the opportunity for repair.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I really enjoy that we talk about the lifespan, how attachment, and we talked about this in earlier episodes, but attachment is no longer just thought of as 0 to 18 months, that it lasts throughout the lifespan. And one of the things we see in this episode is that we see Ibra, an older gentleman in the show, I think one of the elders of the show, grappling with this, wrestling with his own attachment needs. And I think they did a great job of portraying that. We'll talk more about that here in a minute, but I just really appreciate how we can see it across the spectrum. It's not just this mother-child development. It's a lifelong, all relationships, all dynamics type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The kind of needs we have as infants when we're forming the attachment system is different than what we have in terms of needs in our adulthood.
Sure.
But if what we're talking about is the need for others, the need for connection, the need for attunement, the need for support, the need for relatedness. Yeah. We are never free of those needs. That goes throughout the whole lifespan. Even as we grow in our capacity to be more self-sufficient
yeah.
or self-soothing or self-directed.
Or hot word right now, differentiated. Which
Sure.
we need to talk about that one episode. Not today, but we will.
Yeah.
Point.
Yeah. Even if we need to individualize and differentiate and be our own person, that's never the end goal. The end goal is to be a more whole person in order to be able to approach relationships again, because we will need those relationships throughout the lifespan, unequivocally, without a doubt.
Yeah.
All the time.
I look forward to that discussion.
Yeah.
We'll have to schedule that. So yeah, there's several relationship dynamics within this episode. And the camera pans to, it goes back and forth storylines of you have Sid and her father, you have Tina, Ibra, and Sid in the school, Carmi and Claire, the new potential love interest, new old potential love interest. And then we talked about Carmi and Mikey's locker. That was, and I think there's more than just that. Like that was almost the whole team in there.
Yeah,
for that.
That's right.
But a really interesting moment. But let's talk about Tina and Ibra.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting dynamic that I think we can apply to many different areas. What I found interesting about their dynamic is Sid is presenting them both with the exact same opportunity. And what you see are two extremely different reactions to that offer. Can you say a little bit more about that? Maybe we can
Well,
riff off each other there.
yeah. Well, what I'm aware of is I don't remember the offer being made to Ibra. I just know that he has it.
Oh yeah, Sid set them both down at the table, and she said,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
while we have this off time, we're going to try
Yes,
to
that's right. That's right.
make room
Yeah,
for
so
that.
it is equally offered. I
Mhm.
guess what I'm being influenced by is that one of the main differences that might influence why the two, Tina and Ibra, are going to respond to the same offer
Mhm.
is that previously Tina is going to have an experience of being believed in, of
Mhm.
being belonged to, of being delighted in, even if it's really awkward because Sydney is awkward as all get out in her dismissive
Right.
attachment or personhood. But Tina has this sort of affirming where she's ending, I think it's the end of episode 1,
Mm,
right, where she's
right.
just beaming um
With
with
joy,
joy and belief and self
confidence.
confidence and dignity and love, and
Hmm.
it's lovely. And that might influence why, when given the same option, um
That also brings up that you're right. We haven't seen the investment in Ibra other than
yes,
a collaborator.
sure,
There's encouragement,
yep,
but then
he's seen
also,
as a team member and valued, absolutely.
yeah,
Mhm.
that whole that saying of the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Mm, mm,
Um,
that's interesting. Yeah.
so it doesn't mean he didn't need it. We'll see in this scene, he actually needs it desperately.
Perhaps. Yes.
And he even gets it from Tina. Tina's a great encourager in this episode to him. Um, but Tina did get um,
Hmm.
more attention, more focus. Whether it was good, bad focus, doesn't really matter. Like it was given to her,
Yeah.
because of all her
Mm.
shenanigans. Um, and that just kind of distracts me. It makes me think of families dynamics, um,
Hmm.
and the attachment system there, and
Yeah.
how a dismissive attachment can really easily be formed when they're told, "Go take care of yourself. Oh, you're good enough. We don't have to worry about you." Is a common.
Yep.
Um, there may be a sibling that requires a lot more.
Yep.
And one thing I'll hear in my office a lot is, "Well, I didn't. I was always seen as the mature one. They didn't have to worry about me."
Or I made
Um,
sure that they didn't have to worry about me because they were worrying about this other
right.
sibling. Mm.
And so the squeaky wheel got the grease, but then this dismissive attachment's being built and nurtured
Yeah.
over here
Yep.
on the other side.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. So really uh, brought that to my attention, the way in which there are these two different roads
yeah.
happening, two different paths, it seems, including toward security or remaining in insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
That Tina is really responding well to this offer, and Ibra seems to be wallowing or drowning in more isolation, in
Fear.
fear, self-doubt,
Yeah.
uh, on an island.
Yeah. It's almost like he's taken on Cousin's dilemma from the last episode
Mhm.
of what's my purpose? Do I have a role here? Am I going to be kicked out? Will I be enough?
Yeah.
Am I needed? All
All
these
important
things.
questions,
Yeah.
but it's almost like he's sort of already answering them of, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt it. Not likely.
Won't be able to do this.
Mhm. Whereas Tina is lavishing in the support in the community of the learning environment and the teachers. She's taking risks. She's
Mm-hmm.
exploring.
It's almost like she's like, you can't have too much of a good thing. This is a good thing.
Yeah.
She's able to see it as a good thing.
Mhm. And from that attachment lens, we would think of that as, it's like with it is though that she has something within her that she's carrying with her,
Mm-hmm.
a sense of safety, security, a sense of I'm deserving of support. When I need help, I can get it.
Mhm.
And it empowers her to explore in culinary school and take risks and have a great time and double down on it.
Mhm. Well, in a lot of the attachment literature, that's known as having a secure base.
That's right. That's been internalized
Mhm.
and is a working model inside the mind, conscious or otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
But this notion that if I go too far, I know where to return.
Yes.
And almost to pull in that hide and seek metaphor,
Yeah, that's
if
right.
they don't come and find me, I know where home base is.
Yeah.
I can go back.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to stay out here. It's okay to take the risk.
Yes.
Um,
Because I've been found before.
right. Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm inherently findable
Yeah.
and worthy of being found. Including
that
I
just
will
feels
make
good
myself
as you
found.
say that. That feels good. I want to feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. Don't we want to feel that
Uh-huh.
all the time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. I am findable. I'm worthy of being found.
Mm-hmm.
I deserve being found. I shall be found.
I shall
Mhm.
declare it. So, and it's noticeable that Ibra doesn't have that.
Yeah.
This insecurity says, I don't
Mhm.
know where home is right now. I don't know where that base is.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like he has a sense that the beef as a organization moving into becoming the bear is a safe base for him
Mm-hmm.
that he can return to.
Well, maybe the beef is, but this new thing called the bear
Yeah, sure.
is really
And the beef
Got it.
was highly problematic if that's your home
right.
base,
Mhm.
because it's full of chaos, it's full
Yeah.
of disorder, it's full of emotional dysregulation,
Mhm.
harm, abuse, drug and alcohol addiction.
All the things.
Yeah, all the things. A C rating.
Yeah. So I thought that they did a really beautiful, they painted a beautiful picture of
Mm.
how it splits. How
Yeah.
like the same, again, different upbringing, different access to things, but it was the same offer. And based on our past and our current situation, we're going to see, interpret, and respond and engage accordingly. Um, and this is a really good example of when there's not a secure base, we respond with insecurity. But with a secure base, we have access to risk, play, take chances, explore the new. All right, the next kind of grouping that we talked about was we're calling the trio, and it's a really fun trio to watch.
Yes.
They're just
A new trio,
yeah.
it seems.
Well, actually, what they called themselves was the Alliance. It was
Oh,
throughout.
that's right.
I forgot about that.
I did forget about that too.
But you have Cousin, Fac, and Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all three lovable guys
Sure, in their own ways.
in their own ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But again, we see insecurity pop up and really impact this dynamic. Cousin is coming in hot, and he has one singular focus. And to the rest of the world, it's to do it his way, to be the leader, to try to take charge, demand, command, whatever that may be, and to get things done. He just came off this last episode of trying to, or struggling with, what's my purpose? Do I have a place here? And with that, I think he's trying to bulldoze his way in. Of like, I do have purpose. I will have purpose. I'm good enough. And he starts barking at the other two. What were some things you see in that?
Yeah,
alliance?
when cousin when the scene opens and as you say, cousin's coming in hot, I would think I think about cousin as someone who has very little to no capacity to know that he's coming in hot,
Mm-hmm.
or to know how being hot is affecting how he's thinking, how it's affecting how he's relating,
How he's being perceived.
and how he might be perceived or experienced.
Mm-hmm.
He's just in the experience. He just is one with the experience and not in a very good Star Wars
Yeah.
Buddhist way. And so he's lacking this self-reflection. He's lacking this ability to know his own mind and the state of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, he's just in it. And he's coming in hot. And folks with attachment disturbances across the board in various ways, but all have difficulties with that kind of self-awareness.
I'm going to pause you real quick. I
Yeah.
don't think we've used that language before. Attachment disturbances.
Ah,
It's a synonym to
Sure.
a rupture.
yes.
Anything you would add to that, though?
Yeah, I guess I'm using that synonymous with insecurity of attachment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The kind of disturbance that attachment isn't securely laid down, but there's a disturbance in that attachment development.
Mm.
Yeah, in various ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like what you're saying, though, when there is a disturbance, it's hard to see outside of yourself,
Yes.
understand the mind of another.
Yes.
And that's what he's showing here of like, no, there is only one way.
That's right.
Even when they argue, like, no, that's your way. He's like, no, it's not my way. It is the way. It's the only way. And he just couldn't take on the mind of the business back, Marcus even encouraging him.
Yes. Or his own mind.
Yeah.
That, wow, I'm feeling really narrow-minded. I'm feeling very determined. I'm aware that I feel no ounce of curiosity or
Mhm.
wonder or creativity. I'm feeling adamant. I'm feeling agitated. I'm feeling,
There's no collaboration.
and therefore,
Mhm.
yes, exactly. Another quality that happens when we're in these distressed states and have this insecurity of attachment, is that we really struggle with how to be collaborative.
That's so interesting to me because I think that's one of our prime desires. Like Richie wants to be collaborated with.
Sure. Sure.
Yet he offers no collaborative
That's
in return.
beautifully said. So true. Yes.
And that often happens in the office of you want, like you desperately want the other to reach for you. You want them to join you. But you're stiff arming and throwing things at them.
Yes.
Metaphorically. Hopefully.
Or sometimes. Regrettably so. Yeah.
And hoping that they will understand you. And it's like it's not gonna work, my guy. And I had this kind of fantasy of talking about if Fac showed up into our office.
Yeah.
And came in and is just bitching about cousin Richie.
Yeah.
That he is just bulldozing. He's being a jerk. I can't get anything done.
He's always been this way. He's always going to be this way.
Yeah.
Why won't he change? Why won't he see me or appreciate me? Or
Never, ever have we ever had that in our office, right?
On a Tuesday at 4:00.
So what, the fantasy is kind of riffing off one another here. I don't know why I'm using that word today.
Really jazzy.
Maybe it's the break dancing from the Olympics.
Oh, stop. Okay.
But it's of what you would do.
Yeah.
How you would talk to Vac and lead him through that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, 1,000 variables, but I know one place I'm definitely going to want to eventually get to is asking some form of this kind of question or line of questioning, which is, hey, Fac, what do you think Richie's thinking? I've heard your take on Richie. I heard your understanding of what he's doing and and how you feel about it all.
Mhm.
But what do you think Richie would say Richie is doing? In trying to get a sense, can Fack accurately,
Mhm.
including with a sense of wonder, curiosity, an acknowledgement that he may be wrong about it. There may be something that he doesn't understand or see.
Doesn't see, yeah.
Um, uh, or an interest of, oh, I'd really like to ask him that question. Trying to get the sense of, can Fack think about Richie from a perspective that isn't an extension of Fack? Can he hold Richie in Fack's mind? Something along that
Yeah.
lines. And what I imagine, if I ask those sort of questions, what Fack might say is, oh, well, he thinks I'm wrong. Okay, well, why do you think he thinks that? Well, because he's an asshole, or he's a jerk, or he's arrogant. And it's like, okay, those things all might be true,
Right.
but why does he think those things? Or what do you think is going on inside him? Well, I don't know.
Oh,
Okay, why don't you know? Or
yeah, we get to be curious.
can you
here.
imagine? Can you hypothesize with me? Or and what I imagine Fack would do is really struggle with that,
Mhm.
because Fack, while may not be the instigator in that sort of scene, is not demonstrating, in my mind, any sort of sophisticated understanding of what's motivating Cousin's behavior.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, the only slight difference Fack has with Richie there is that he's willing to ask for help. He just has like 1 degree difference of access outside of himself. Um, but he's still operating, I would say, in an insecure
Sure.
way, because he is unable to meet cousin Richie where he is. He's unable to say, "Oh, I hear you. That's a good point."
Even if it's not a good point, I hear
Right.
that you have a
I hear
point,
that you have a point.
and I see you're very passionate about it.
Yeah.
I want to understand it more.
Yeah, and kind of like the example we talked about, the parent and the bug. The child brings in a bug from outside. Instead of putting all your anxiety on, I'm like, no, you got to do it my way. Of like, oh, so is this what you're saying? You're saying that we do this and this. Oh, okay, I see that you're saying that, and that exists, and I really appreciate that. And just to calm the nervous system, calm the air in the room, and just lower the temperature, so that we all have access to our prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
We have access to the decision center of our brain.
And the reflective
Right.
centers of the brain. And yeah.
We can open that up. But if we just keep coming in hot and hot back and forth, that's just going to keep the dysregulation going, spinning. You're grinning.
I'm grinning.
Tell me more.
Just because, one, the scene is just so funny. And is so, even though it's not explicitly a romantic couple in the show, I've had my hypotheses.
Yeah.
And it's so easy for us to imagine that scene in a romantic context, in a marital romantic couples.
Well, they literally almost kissed.
I mean,
it was like, are they?
Yeah.
It was kind of out of nowhere, but yeah.
They seem both to be two characters, even if they embody it somewhat differently, just so desperate for connection and for community and relationship.
Yeah.
And they are so on the fringes, on the outskirts of their communities, it seems.
Yeah.
So I was just grinning at just, it's really not about romance or not. Right? It's the romance is irrelevant, even if that's a place where we often find ourselves finally seeking some help in our lives, is where it shows up romantically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happens with coworkers and siblings, and
Yeah, front of house staff, back of house staff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It shows up everywhere. And Marcus continues to be just steady.
So steady, Eddie.
Yeah.
And I would argue, appropriately engaged and appropriately disengaged.
Mm-hmm.
He's found that right. I feel like I just slobbered. Did I?
Spittle.
It's spittled. He seems like he's found that right balance
Yeah.
of closeness and distance,
Mm.
of involvement and not being involved. I don't know a better word for that, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a great example when they were kind of reviewing what happened, and he was like, "Yeah, you were wrong for that." And then I can't remember what he said. He basically said both of them were wrong. He's like, "Oh, you were wrong for that."
yeah,
And you called mom.
yeah.
Like you both screwed up here.
Yes.
And I'm still here with you.
Also,
Uh-huh. So,
and I'm here supporting you all.
Yeah.
And supporting us and supporting the bear.
Yeah. Yeah. So which leads us to the kind of very end of the alliance going through a full repair. So after Richie knocked mold all over himself, I feel like they need to be more concerned about their health.
Yeah.
But no one seemed to be that concerned. But as they're cleaning it all up, that lovely scene where Richie is just kind of feeling defeated, it looks like, moved into owning, okay, something was up, something needed to happen.
Recognizing that something went wrong, that he had a large part to do with that.
And so like the perfect repair would be more of like directly saying, "Hey guys, thanks for being here. I didn't get it right. I needed you."
Yeah.
He goes, "You guys don't have to stay and help clean this." And they responded so lovely to him. Marcus saying, "Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do." And then Vat goes, "It's not your fault. It's the mold's fault." And so just being present and
depersonalizing.
Yeah. Not condemning.
Yep.
Not just reinforcing, "Yeah, it was your fault. Yeah, you should have listened to me." Yeah. Just digging in.
Yet still the space of acknowledging
something happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They weren't sweeping it under the rug. They were cleaning it up.
Yeah. Maybe not the most explicit or the most direct ways.
Yeah.
And I think maybe sometimes the most indirect ways are the best ways. Even things that don't have words.
Says the dismissive avoidant.
Well, I think partly what you might be right about that. But what comes to mind is a cultural value, I think, certainly in Western American life, where we very much value explicit and directness.
Mm-hmm.
And I can appreciate that there are other cultural systems where what's more valued is more indirect.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about shame-based cultures, that what would be more important is to protect the other person. And so you don't want to say something that would evoke shame. And so that's why you're going to be indirect about things. And I forget where I heard this, so I don't claim this as my thought. But it was somebody talking about couples and repair, and that sometimes the best kind of repair after a couple has had an argument is maybe the husband bringing a cup of coffee to the wife, of saying like, "Hey, I thought about you.
Mm-hmm.
I know you want coffee. I know it's coffee time. I know how you like your coffee." And like, that's the apology, or that's the beginning of the repair.
Yeah, I like the beginning better than that's the apology. But
I can appreciate that. But even there are times where something doesn't actually need to be
so directly said.
Not only so directly said, but revisited.
Rehashed and
relived. It just needs to be let go of. And what really needs to have happened in the first place was a connection.
Yeah.
A vibing together,
So what I would call it is a corrective emotional experience. So it doesn't have to be so explicit, but the felt sense of I'm seen, I'm known, I'm safe is experienced in opposition to the threat or the rupture that happened.
Yeah, that was previously happening.
Yeah.
Because I think there are ways in which bros, which you and I are like the epitome.
So bro culture.
So two bros broing out all the time. Because after this, we're going weightlifting. And by weightlifting, I think we just mean getting up from our seat. Yes. Getting in the standing position. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Redirecting. What was I saying?
I need repair now.
I appreciate what I observe often in bro culture of the ways in which they repair is not the way that I would want to, in more verbal and direct and nuanced, and yet it's valuable and it's real and meaningful. And
yeah, sometimes I just don't get it because I'm like, surely you're still hurt by that, and they're authentically like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah,
like,
yep,
it's fine. It's in the past. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So the alliance, they provided a great.
Well, and I think that there's an element of that in the way in which, maybe that's partly why I'm thinking about it, in the way in which Marcus just simply says, yeah, it was me. I did it because it's the right thing to do. I did it because I knew you wouldn't respond well. But he's not like, because you're an asshole and you're reactive and you're emotional and you're you just,
I did it.
Yeah, I did it in a way that just in the fewest amount of words.
Yeah, it was like I did it, and there wasn't like what I would follow that up with.
Yeah,
and you're welcome.
Yeah. If there wasn't a passive aggressive bitchy,
bitchy.
Sorry, I didn't mean you. I meant who did I mean?
If the shoe fits, it's fine. Yeah. So yeah, but that's an interesting observation, and that the bros may have something going for them.
Yeah, that they can repair in their bro kind of way that is just as healthy, just as meaningful, even if some of us others might need something more or something different.
Yeah,
and that maybe we could also grow into the simplicity and the meaningfulness and the sturdiness and the reliableness as we get more secure. We'll probably have more of a capacity to whatever this is, the universal sign of
taking in.
Take the marrow.
Not following.
I know. I'm
sorry.
Like draw upon the essence of something.
Okay.
I'm gonna Google that. Whatever I'm trying to figure out. Anyhow.
All right.
Yeah, the good trio.
This is another fun episode.
Yeah. A fun time with you, Michael.
Yes. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
I'm digging into my wall.
Oh, sorry. Oh. If you weren't watching that on the video,
you have no idea.
You just missed a gorgeous
weightlifting experience. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Next time.
Bye.